Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel in partnership with sharpbetting.co.uk, your home for all your betting tips and expert analysis for not only boxing but the likes of football and horse racing as well. So if you're a big sports fan who likes a bet every now and then, please check out sharpbetting.co.uk in the description below. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny, and we're here in final prediction mode for a crucial heavyweight main event this weekend in Manchester, as Joyce looks to save his career against a man who's also looking to do the same in Filip Hrgovic. So yeah, huge stakes for both men. Danny, I hope you're well. Of course, Hrgovic a late replacement here in this one. So no, let's not talk any further. What's your final prediction for Joyce against Filip Hrgovic?
Yeah, cheers now. It's a fight with a lot of things you have to consider, a lot of unknown variables. It's definitely, I think, a tougher fight for Joyce than Dylan White, who obviously was originally scheduled to face. I don't think it's an unwinnable fight. However, I think the logical pick is Filip Hrgovic, and that's what I'm going to go with. I think if Filip Hrgovic is able to land on Joyce at the rate he was landing on Daniel Dubois, he'll take Joyce out, and I think Joyce is a more hittable target than Daniel Dubois, and I've got big doubts over Joyce's punch resistance at this stage of his career. However, if he can navigate the first 4 or 5 rounds, I think he's really in the fight, and I think he can win the fight from there. However, that's a big if, and I think I would edge to the side of him not being able to do that, so I'm going to go Filip Hrgovic in the first 6 rounds.
I'd have to I can't disagree with anything you've said there, to be honest with you. In terms of the standard of replacement, I do think it's a better fight than Dillian White as well. It's a pity we're not getting this fight a few years earlier. You know, both men have sort of declined, one more so than the other, you could say. But yeah, it is. I am looking forward to it. A lot at stake, and I agree. I just think Joyce is kind of declined more drastically than Filip Hrgovic has. As you said, it's not unwinnable. You know, Filip Hrgovic, a lot of questions around him, his kind of mentality. We've seen it in a couple of fights with Dubois, with Zhang. You know, when the going gets tough, does he really have that kind of mentality to push through? But as you say, I think Joyce's strongest trait, his punch resistance. Well, what was his strongest trait? I think that's left him as well. And you know, I think losing to Derek Chisora, that version of Derek Chisora, I think is it's a death sentence really. So I do think Hrgovic will land, and I think you will get him out there early in the first 6 as well. I might even go just to be a bit different. I might go earlier. I'll say first 4 rounds stoppage. I just think if Hrgovic has anything left at all, he will dispatch of this version of Joyce. So yeah, we're both going for an early stoppage for Hrgovic. One thing I did want to kind of ask you and touch on, you know, our partners at Sharp Betting have Hrgovic as a 2-7 favourite for this fight. Just I don't think in my recollection a late replacement has ever been that big of a favourite before in a fight. So I found that quite interesting. Do you think they're justifiable odds? You know, just over 3-1 favourite. Do you think that's fair? A fair kind of value for Hrgovic here?
First of all, it's a really good point you make. I can't think of a late replacement who's come in at such short odds. 2-7, I'd say maybe slightly short, not a million miles away, just because there's so many, question marks over Filip Hrgovic. He's never really cleaned out a fighter of any note early. I mean, we're both picking him to do it, to Joyce, but he's never done that. Even Dempsey McKean took him to the very last round. So I don't think he's actually one of the top 3-4 one-punch punchers in the division. Big concerns over his gas tank for me as well. I mean, he was just as gassed as Zhilei Zhang over 12 rounds. I mean, what does that tell you about that? However, I think it's just more, as we explained, what Joe Joyce is getting in there with him. I think if this was the pre-Zhang Joe Joyce, I would almost have those odds flipped. But it's just mad how things can change so drastically in what's grand scheme of thing, not that long a period of time. I would say 2-7, maybe slightly short. I'd have maybe Hrgovic somewhere around between 1-2 and 1-3. Obviously 2-7's a bit beyond that, but not a million miles away.
Yeah, again, I agree. I have to say, if anything, it might be a bit short, to be honest. But yeah, if it was the choice of pre-Gilles Zhang, you could argue about them odds being flipped, most definitely, yeah, so it will be interesting. Just a quick one before we wrap up. Um, I'm of the opinion that it should have, Joyce should have kind of retired already after the Chisora loss. Do you think this is a loser leaves town for either man? Is there any way back for the loser of this one?
In terms of the way back to anything close to the top level of the heavyweight division, or I mean, a world title shot seems fanciful even now, then yes. I mean, as a heavyweight, if you want to carry on, there's always going to be someone willing to throw you in with a prospect. But I think that's where the loser goes. I mean, I'd hate to see that, particularly for Joe Joyce. I agree with you. Retirement should have been something that was at least a lot more seriously considered than it ever appeared to be. You never really heard even reports of it being something that the team were thinking about. I think Hrgovic, whilst I don't think he's going to do anything in the division if he's beat, I don't think he's taken the damage that Joe Joyce has. I mean, he took big licks off the Bois, but was stopped on cuts. Got a fantastic chin. Actually, Hrgovic's probably the best in the division at the minute. But I think in terms of doing anything meaningful, securing a big fight, fighting for a world title, then it's absolutely like the losers completely ruled out of all that, I would say.
Yeah, agree totally. Again, Joyce. What more does Joyce think he can achieve? As I say, especially after the Chisora loss, but it'd be terrible to see him take more damage than necessary. And yeah, just another thing you mentioned there, which I agree with, Hrgovic's chin as well, which I forgot to mention earlier. He did show good chin against Dubois, so that'll be interesting to see how he holds up to Joyce's shots. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting one this Saturday in Manchester as Joe Joyce looks to save his career at any sort of a decent level as he faces the very dangerous late replacement Filip Hrgovic in the main event at the Co-op Arena in Manchester. So yeah, let us know what you think. Do you agree with myself and Danny's final predictions? Do you see an early Hrgovic KO, or can Joyce salvage his career at nearly 40 years of age and get the job done? Let us know what you think. Get involved down below. Please like the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel at ESBR Boxing, and as I said at the start of the video, please check out our partners at sharpbetting.co.uk down below. Danny, it was a pleasure and take care.
Cheers, mate.